I'm at Great Linford Manor Park and I'm with Kerry Thompson. Hi there.
Hello, how are you?
Not so bad, thanks. And this is a Parks Trust land and you're an accessibility ambassador for the Parks Trust.
Yes, yeah, I've been an accessibility ambassador for just over 2 years now.
What is an accessibility ambassador?
So what we do is it's a diverse group of people with different disabilities, and we come together and we talk about what's accessible and what's not accessible in the Parks Trust. But we do also go out to other parks as well because they've found out about us and they've read about us. So it's good to all of us have that bit of knowledge and to be able to give that knowledge to other parks as well as the Parks Trust, just to make it a bit more accessible for people.
So what sort of changes have taken place here?
There's been very little changes, but they're changes that make things a lot better, like a little bit more flat land. There's been pathways made out. Also, Parks Trust did some work with Access Able to indicate the accessibility of the park and where you can go, where's good to go, what's more accessible, what's not accessible, whether it's got a slope, whether it's a steep slope, slow slope. So it's everything. So you've got a QR code on the Manor Park notice board where it's got the big, obviously the picture of the park, and then it's got little bits of information, and then at the bottom there's a QR code. Click on that and it will give you every bit of information you need about the park.
There's also colour coding on some parts of the park. It looks a bit like a ski run, actually, with red and yellow. And that is that to indicate how easy it is or how accessible it is?
Yeah, I mean, there's an accessibility section that shows you the grey route. So it's kind of like a grey-brown bit that will show you just how accessible all of the walkways are around the park. Yeah. And I love that because this is my favourite park. It's literally 5 minutes away from my house. Yeah. And I love coming outdoors. I come from the countryside, so I miss the countryside. So this to me is like going home for the day. So I could sit here all day long and just do nothing.
Well, shall we go for a walk?
Absolutely, let's go.
Let's go. So we can just see the church coming up now as we're going down this gentle slope. So, Kerry, what sort of things... I mean, we could kind of guess that things like making pathways easier is something that needs to happen, but there are other things as well that needs to be considered.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, step-free access is always a bonus, just because obviously me being in a wheelchair, I can't exactly run and jump off a couple of steps and I can't get up a couple of steps. So yeah, step-free access is always good. When you've got like ponds, if you have like a ledgeway around a pond, that kind of stops you from losing sometimes your footing in a wheelchair. And people with visually impaired, their stick would obviously touch that little lip of a pond, so they would know not to go any further. So yeah, there's just simple things that you can do, but mainly keeping pathways clear, a lot wider, keeping them as level as you possibly can. Like we're coming up to a pretty steep hill here, so on the map on Access Able, it does kind of state that it is quite steep. So for me, I kind of go quite slowly because my head has a tendency to be a bit like a nodding dog. So once it's gone, I have someone to kind of pick it back up again.
All right, I'll see if I have to do that.
You probably will. So yeah, it's just the little things.
Yeah.
Having like seating areas that are in certain places for people that need to take that rest stop as well. Park benches that are accessible for people with wheelchairs is always a good one as well. And I know the Parks Trust have gone above and beyond to make sure that they have a couple of those in their parks as well. So yeah, I'll have to stop.
Oh, so we just need to stop. We'll come to a little yellow post. That's to stop cars or something like that going down here, but yeah stops other vehicles as well. There was one issue in particular that actually came to national attention. You ended up on Channel 5 News a few years ago.
I did, yes. Yeah, toilets. My nickname is the Toilet Queen, which was done by one of my best friends. Just by pure accident, I fell into campaigning about toilets. more essentially a change in places toilet, which is a different style of accessible toilet. So this one is 12 by 12. It has ample space. It has a ceiling, a track hoist. It has a toilet that's central to the wall. So because we don't transfer from one side, we're all very different. It just gives that more room to be able to transfer safely. It's also got a height adjustable bed. Some have height adjustable sinks and some have showers. And having that extra space, because for me, going to the toilet is the most inconvenient thing I do. And it can be a 45-minute process.
Yeah.
I can go out and not have anything to drink. And that's not safe. You know, it's not healthy. It's not safe.
And so as a result of not drinking, you can end up, well, with real problems.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've had hair loss. I've been dehydrated, which is dangerous in itself. I've got kidney stones due to it. I've now made, a huge decision in my life to have a suprapubic catheter fitted, just because I'm more active in the outside world. That going to the toilet, I need to be safe.
Yeah. And one of those places where you found you struggle with accessibility to toilets that were accessible was Milton Keynes Hospital.
Ah, yes. Milton Keynes Hospital. As much as I love the staff there, going to the toilet for me is impossible. I cannot even get into their accessible toilet. And they're fully aware. I've been having conversations with them since 2019. And unfortunately, money is a massive issue. But you don't go to the hospital thinking that you go there for life-saving treatment and coming out of there and going, well, actually, I've got life-saving treatment, but I can't go to the toilet. So if I end up in A&E, if I go in myself through A&E, I do have to give a time limit as to how long I can be there before it becomes a massive issue.
So the thing about toilets, is it about money or is it about thinking in advance, making sure that toilets are accessible?
I think it's a bit of both. I mean, now the legislation was changed that if any new build over a certain capacity has to have automatically a change of places fitted. That was a huge campaign that a lot of us campaigners did and managed to get changed, which was great. The knowledge around changing places is probably a lot better now than what it was 5-6 years ago. But it's not, people need to remember that it's not life-size versions of me that have an issue. It's parents as well. You know, you've got parents changing their children on dirty toilet floors. And for any parent, I guarantee they would be like, well, no, I wouldn't do that. But unfortunately for some parents, you have to. They're changing in the boots of their car. And it's unhygienic. It's not healthy. And yes, unfortunately, they do turn into life-size versions of myself that are then going to need to use a facility. And it's more around the safety. And I think as much as accessible toilets are great, they're out of date. In my eyes, they're out of date. That's my opinion. They're out of date. They're not big enough. They're sometimes used as storage units. And I don't think there's enough information as to why these toilets are so important. Because it's not just the physical, it's not just the visible either. It's the invisible disabilities that we all need. So I think, having a change in places toilet is hugely important.
So this is all about good design and also about having the right people involved when you're thinking about making somewhere in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. There's, you've got the charity, Changing Places UK, and they've got a great map that you can map out your whole destination around the country, and it will give you every single Changing Places that's been registered. There was a government project that I was lucky enough to be involved in a couple of years ago, where the government forked 30 million for local authorities to opt in to have Changing Places. And Milton Keynes, I managed to get Milton Keynes Emberton Park. They built one there, and that was an amazing win. You know, they wanted to have a toilet there. The money was there. I had conversations with them, and they ran with it, and that was great. You know, another one is Tesco's. I was lucky enough to be a part of that project, which was incredible. And they're still building now. Whenever they redesign their stores, they look to add a change in places. Because let's face it, if you go to a shopping centre or you go to Tesco's or any shop, you go in there for a pint of milk, you come out with a lot more than just a pint of milk. So, and even if you could just pop in to go to the toilet, you still pop in because you think, oh, I can just grab this, I can just grab that. So it makes sense to make sure that you're making it inclusive for all. That's all that we're asking, is just make it inclusive.
Yeah. What are Purple Tuesdays?
Purple Tuesday is the spending power of disabled people and their families. So here it's worth 274 billion. Around the world, don't ask me that one because I haven't got a clue. It just makes more sense. This is money that we can spend that isn't being spent because you're not accessible. So just making those small changes, like having a seating area or having a chair that someone can use, having a hearing loop, making sure that your doors are wide enough, making sure that you've got a ramp, making sure you're step-free access. There's so many simple things that people can do and businesses can do to make themselves accessible. Why are we not doing it? Why are we not being inclusive? Why are we not making sure that that child that's now been diagnosed with muscular dystrophy like me, that is then going to be an adult, that's then going to want to live on their own, that's going to want to go shopping and buy clothes, buy food, buy, furniture. Why are you not making it accessible?
So we've come to the bottom of the slope now, and we can go left, right, or straight on. What do you reckon?
We can go down to the pond.
Yeah.
Or we can go up towards the church.
Well, yeah, so the pond, this is like a double pond here, isn't there?
Yeah.
And we can see some ducks. Well, actually, there's only one of them actually in the water at the moment. The others seem to be happier on the banks.
It's normally really busy, actually, on the pond.
Yeah.
It's actually quite quiet compared to what it normally is. The swans seem to have disappeared.
Yeah.
I don't know where they are, but the last time I came here, there was a snake in the pond. It was incredible to watch. Everyone was just mesmerised by this snake wandering around. The ducks didn't quite like it, but it was quite fun to watch.
Yeah. And then as we're going along, and we have the ponds now on our left, we've also got canal boats at the side. So the canal runs along the side here.
Yeah, it's quite nice. That's probably a lot of canal boats that I've seen since I've been here. There's not normally that many, but yeah, it's always quite nice to see the canal boats. I say it's a lovely little walk. I mean, if you stop here, you've got like a little section here that tells you about the canal and the railway and how it started. And there's like a little QR code bit there. That's one part that we did ask for. We asked for a bit of a QR code to be able to get a bit more knowledge as to what was, around us and why it was there. But yeah, Parks Trust have done some incredible work to make it the park that it used to be when it was owned way back when.
Yeah. Just thinking as we're going along here. So I'm walking by the side of you, and I'm wearing just an ordinary pair of shoes. But actually, I wouldn't know how to make these shoes. I can't do this by myself. I need other people's help. We all need help, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're an aging community right now. We need more accessible homes, which again is a campaign I'm very passionate about. There's certain things when you reach a certain age that you think, oh, I could do with that. Yeah. So everybody needs something. Our bodies change, our lives change. Whether you're disabled, whether you're not disabled, whether you're old, whether you're young, it doesn't matter. There's always something that we need. Yeah. I'm sure I can hear a small person coming up behind. Yeah.
I was just saying, is that your nephew or?
Yeah, it's my nephew. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's having a little look in the pond, just seeing what he can see. Hopefully not going to jump in with the snakes.
I mean, give him half a chance, he'd probably jump in.
So I noticed on your website you said that you're really quite out there. You've got a website, you're in social media, you're active on that. And you said on one thing was that if you could just help one person, just help them do what they want to do, that's really your goal.
Yeah, absolutely. If I can help one person see that it's not a death sentence, that you can still live a life. I mean, I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there, if you'd have asked me 10 years ago, I'd be sat here now having conversations with you or being an ambassador for, Access Able and Parks Trust. I would have laughed at you and said, there's no way, because I've gone from walking to wheels, and it can be very hard mentally, and it still is now. With my disease, it's a muscle wasting condition, so I can change from year to year, and I'd have found that you mourn what you lose, and it's just dealing with that mourn and then picking yourself up and moving on. So if I can give any advice, or I can show someone that it's okay to be disabled, and it's okay, you can still have a job, you can still have, get married, still have children, you can still have an average everyday life that you choose, just may take a little bit longer. Like getting on a plane, or getting up in the morning. I do what everybody else does. I get up in the morning, I have breakfast, I go to work.
Yeah.
It just may take me a little bit longer.
Some of the ducks are now in the water. I think they're hoping to get fed.
Yes. I'm not sure whether the small human will feed himself or the ducks, though.
Yeah. Just another thing you mentioned, particularly something else you say on your website. It's quite important to live in the moment.
Yeah. I loved it. I've learnt throughout life that living with regret is probably not the best thing to do. So I don't regret anything that I do. If I think I'm going to regret it, I won't do it. But I do tend to live in the moment. I'd rather live in the moment, because I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. I can have a heart attack and die. I can be run over by a bus. I can, anything can happen where I'm not going to have the ability to do what I do today.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. Living in the moment, I think, is hugely important, and remembering that life is there for living, not there for just sitting around and doing nothing.
Although I quite fancy going and sitting and doing nothing on that bench over there.
Well, yeah, there is that. Yeah.
Should we go and do that?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, it was great talking to you.
Thank you. It's lovely to talk to you too.